The more I think about this franchise, it is literally step up rated R. But you know what? Since this is my last dance too, ooh, I am so pale. Ooh, Channing Tatum. Oh, 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 don't show it. Oh. Chase Lee Hockey here with the Blue Futon, reviewing Magic Mike's Last Dance. So, what's this movie about? Pretty simple premise, actually. We are still following Channing Tatum, which he is now a bartender in Miami. Salma Hayek is promoting, and she's really down on her luck. And she's like, you know what? I heard you give good dances. And so Channing Tatum gives her a dance. Her mind is filled with just endorphins, and like, oh my god, this is amazing ecstasy. And now she's like, wait a minute, I own a theater in London, and you know what? We're going to do a one night special event of just straight strippers dancing. So, to like this film, I actually enjoyed this one out of most of them, actually. I think this might be the best one. I truly think this is the best one when I think about it now. So, when looking at the past ones, like Magic Mike XXL was no shit close to NC-17 because that movie is straight up just, dudes dancing on stage, sexualized, sexualized, sexually. I don't even know what that means, but it is. But at least this one, you kind of have a story of how Channing Tatum is, discovering who he really is. That glass slipper. Did he find it with Salma Hayek? However, there is some cringy dialogue in this story, as well as just the ending where I'm like, well, it just stops. But then the same thing happened with Magic Mike and XXL, where the ending just like go, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and you're just like, oh man, really? Even though this is the longest, I would expect another 7 minutes to just let me know what is actually occurring. But let's talk about the positive of the story. This one actually has a story. And that's what I liked about it. The first one, Magic Mike, was more of like, oh yeah, bringing the kid in and we're, being strippers. The second one, it's a road trip movie with no dilemma. At least the third one, there is different locations of what is actually happening. We're bringing new characters that actually help the story. The problem with XXL, you brought in J.D. Pinkett Smith, Donald Glover, and the others, and they don't really expand the story. At least Salma Hayek has a daughter. There's a bad thing with her relationship with her ex-husband or soon-to-be ex-husband divorcee happening. So you have that dynamic, which adds to this story, and I really liked it. Also, you have this story element of this girl who's denying permits. And so there are elements where you're like, we are expanding the story, and I truly like it. And the humor in this one really works, in my opinion. For example, you have the butler. He's freaking hysterical, and the daughter has her own good lines. Even though I find it weird, she is the one narrating the story. I don't know if that's a positive or negative, but I just found that a little bit awkward. And the chemistry between Channing Tatum and Salma Hayek work, and Salma Hayek has some hysterical dialogue in the story. We'll go with some of the negative with the dialogue, but their dynamic completely works. And when the dancing is on screen, this one, like I said, is less sexualized dancing. There's a little bit at the end where it talks about the story, which that's fine with. You're bringing, you're futurizing or updating the story from the 1800s. I think doing it this way, I don't know if it makes sense, but it works on some levels. Also, the beginning dance, yeah, okay, it works with him and Salma Hayek together. I think it works perfectly fine for what the story is starting to develop. When we get to the final dance sequence, all I could think about is, where's that water going? Does people know there's about to be a splash zone? And then that happens, and then a final dance. I'm just like, where did the water go? Where did the water seriously go? And this is going to sound very interesting or very weird, but this is like Steven Soderbergh light. Even though he directed it, you could tell he's behind the camera, but it just feels more commercialized, if you know what I mean. But that's just my personal opinion about what I saw. And when talking about the negative of the movie, I just think it's a why factor of why this movie was made. Did we really need a trilogy of Magic Mikes? Maybe we didn't. But when we talk about the dialogue, there's a scene in the movie where it talks about oh, I just want a guy that does this, and I want a guy that does this. And all of a sudden she's like, I just want a CEO that pays their females more than men. And I'm thinking, I thought we were promoting equality now all of a sudden. I don't know. I can't keep up with everything now. Everything changes on a fucking weekly basis. One day I'm like, hell yeah, Disney. The next day I'm like, Proud Family, you're a bunch of racists. The next day I'm like, okay, Disney, you're doing good there. And the next day I'm like, did the Proud Family just speak about white privilege with cops? It's what are we doing? And I'm on Twitter. Anyway, just get off Twitter, get off social media. I hate these people like ruining my childhood. It's like, jump off a bridge. Jump off a fucking bridge. Overall, Magic Mike, The Last Dance, is a lot better than I was expecting. I will not lie. I kind of like that they decided not to go the complete sexualized route, and it worked on some levels. But I just really get confused too when thinking about it. Is the very end dance sequence, and people brought their husbands. If I was really watching that show, I'd be like, I didn't know I was going to see Chippendales tonight. That's a little odd. So Magic Mike's Last Dance will receive a 3.5 out of 5 with Futon. So he goes at 70%. I can't believe I'm saying this. I think this one is the best in the trilogy. Very interesting. Critics' news scores. What do they give this one? So you have critics a 46% with 144 of them. Audience score is 75% with over 250. So that means the audience agrees with me saying this is the best in this series, but critics say it's the worst. Very interesting. Here's critic consensus. Magic Mike's Last Dance is loose and limber enough to entertain, although it's hard to escape the feeling that this franchise has lost a step or two along the way. I mean, sure, this is basically step up R-rated, but what else do you want from it? So 75, 60, or 75, 70, 46. Chase Talk with the Blue Futon. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know if you think it's Bluetoontopia. You Blue Futonians think watch about freaking fantastic night. I love all of you. I truly do. Want to watch the Magic Mike? Oh, I am so pale.